Hello and welcome to the LCS report. 3 weeks down, 4 weeks left to go. We got a lot to talk about. We have a pretty cool episode lined up. We're actually going to bring people who are fans of the team to talk about the matchups that happened. And yeah, let's just get right into it. We'll start from the very top. C9 versus DSG. Man, that was not a good look for C9. Like, I want to get your opinions first
Really?
before we bring in the C9 fan. For
I
C9, you think that was a good look?
I mean, it was no worse than when FlyQuest played them. Like we won a 22-minute game and a 26-minute
FlyQuest
game.
didn't lose.
I mean, even top like fucking HLE's lost to Bro. Do we really start saying HLE should be relegated? Like, I know that's what their fans like. I know, like, yes, we lost the game, but there was clear improvements. Like, we destroyed them in games 1 and 3. Cloud, if you would take that win, look me dead in the eye and tell me you wouldn't take that win as Shopify. A 22-minute game and a 26-minute game in which we won 14 kills to 0. The same as FlyQuest.
Okay. Yes, your dominant games are good, but then you lost the game to DSG. The only game that they won was against you guys. Like, FlyQuest did incredible amounts of throwing and still won the game. You guys, first of all, your Loki Rise, like, just please stop. Just please stop.
I will defend. Look, let's bring Damon into this so I can have some backup. Genuinely, Rise wasn't the problem that game. It wasn't, but
it wasn't the solution.
No, okay. But everyone's so going badly on this Rise and then comparing Loki to freaking Call Me just because he has a bad champion when every top player has a bad champion. Do you think Faker plays everything good? No. Jovi doesn't play everything exceptional. Like, every single player will have a champion they're not good at.
I'm with you there. Anyways, let's bring in Daywin and see what he feels about Cloud9.
All right. You took the down very quickly while I saw out the camera stuff because I forgot this is a problem.
All right. You can, by the way, you can just like right click and then only show video participants. That way it doesn't mess up when people come in and out.
How do I do that?
You should be able to just right click.
That is,
or more options, I think. Yeah.
That is game changing. That's brilliant.
Yeah. That way you don't have to keep jumping back and forth.
Yep.
Anyways, welcome, Daywin. Do you agree with me that Cloud9 should be worried, or are you with Marn where you're like, I'm super happy that with our performance against DSG?
I don't think we should be worried. Like, I'm not
good man.
Super. Yeah. Like, obviously, losing a game to DSG is not ideal, but we're also not in like a position where we're like expected to dominate. Like, we have a 7-man roster for a reason, and that's not because we look really good. So, I don't know if it's just Loki Rise curse that we lose these games, but yeah, like games 1 and 3 were very promising, especially like compared to like FlyQuest or last week.
I think my issue with Cloud9 is with the Loki tactical roster, your mechanical like laning abilities and just the champions you can pick has gotten better. But you guys have downgraded very heavily when it comes to like macro and team coordination and team fighting, to the point that you can actually lose to one of these bottom teams. FlyQuest had good enough macro that they were able to fend off like an 8,000 gold lead from DSG. You guys' macro is actually like a problem when it comes to the top 4, right? Like, we're not comparing FlyQuest to Dignitas and DSG. We're comparing them to the stage where they should be at going into Worlds. And I think overall, you guys have taken a step back rather than forward.
Yeah, I would agree. But where I would contest is we still have a lot of time to ramp up to a decent, because I don't think outside of Team Liquid and FlyQuest that the level was going to be absurdly high where our macro deficiencies right now are going to be a problem. Sure, I think we will fight between like 3rd, 4th, and 5th, between like Sentinels, Fly, you guys, but I think come playoffs we will be better. I think one thing I will take from you pull that face, but like genuinely, we're already showing
playoff chokers.
I mean, that's why we've changed the roster card. Like, you shouldn't have this expectation that we are a first or second place team. We're generally not. Like, we are fighting for third, and until proven otherwise, we are a third to middle of the table team, and like that should be the expectation. Yes, we're going to falter sometimes. We're not going to look as good. I have seen improve. Yes, we're playing against like worse opponents, but you speak to Dom, you speak to Yamato. He's already said in the past 2 weeks the players have actually started to listen on things that I didn't see in either of the two splits. Thanatos, with a Hot Spawn interview, said that the difference between Inero and Dom is that Inero kind of just let us do what we want, and Dom is strictly saying, "No, you are following my way or like the highway." And I think that's positive to me. I don't know how Dave even feels, where these players that have continued to fail and fail again should not be given the legiancy to keep playing how they want to play.
Yeah, I also like I agree that this roster is just like in its third official week of playing. So we can still expect improvements and like the team clicking better together. And I also want to challenge the fact that we're a bad macro team because for one, we're called a good lane bad macro team for years at this point with like all iterations of rosters. Just because we're not like a inspired level late game macro team doesn't mean our macro is like bad. We're just sad that we're in a region where there's like one guy who can like really bring back games. And at the other side, we 14-0 DSG with only dropping a coin flip dragon that they got. Like, and I think one grub or something. Like, that's still macro gameplay to like close out a game cleanly with a lead. Like, maybe we're not good at like chaotic games, but like when we have like a clear structure and get an early game lead, bring like the snowball rolling, we're clearly capable of doing that to a like almost flawless level. So I don't think our macro per se is bad. I think we're struggling in like chaotic situations where it's like unclear what exactly to do, but we clearly have a good structure at like snowballing and closing out games, which is a very good thing for like a team to be at.
Yeah, I'll give you that game against the 14-0 game was pretty clean, and it is easier to snowball when you're really far ahead. But it is what I guess what I'm saying is Cloud9's macro got worse. Not that you have a really like bad macro, but I think you guys regressed is more of my argument compared to in the first 3 weeks of this split compared to the first 3 weeks of last split. It feels like you guys took a step backwards.
I think.
Yes, okay, you go.
Sorry. I think it's just. I mean, on one thing, I think it's expected because there's been like a shakeup in the team, and obviously, when you shake things up, you don't have that backlog of experiences, and you probably changed. I'm just gonna say systems, like if how you want to approach things, right? When a team has been together for a long time, you have like keywords that you can say and everyone knows exactly what the idea is, or you have like a certain way you want to approach objectives, where like warding spots, how you want to set up like TP wards, etc. And if you like throw all this out of the table because you swap out 2 people, you swap out a head coach, you bring in 2 new coaches, and then obviously that backlog doesn't exist and the games will look less clean. So one thing, yes, we regressed in like setup systems, but I don't know when the last time we almost perfect gamed the team, because usually C9 games are like extremely chaotic, and Blabber usually has like 3 deaths that you can just like put on the scoreboard before they even load into the game, right? So
Blabber.
so having this is actually, I think, just shows that like the way Dom has them play is a very strict. It's like the OG Reaper belt, where it's like, okay, we're gonna do these things, and we're just gonna follow like a list and like reduce all the chaos from the game. And
how have you found Tactical compared to like we don't know what your perception was of him like coming into C9. How do you think he's like felt thus far? Because I'm not ready to make the claim that I think he's like a top 3 ADC. Yes, statistically, he's already there. Like, if you actually look at the stats, he's pretty high up on most things, but obviously that's matchup dependent. Like right now that you're playing against two of the weaker bot lanes in like the LCS, but how have you felt like Tactical has done so far?
I'm gonna be honest, because of just the time zones. Like I live in Europe, I don't have like time to really watch like NACL, so I haven't seen Tactical since he left the LCS. So I had like zero expectations of him coming in. And honestly, I think he's been doing good, but yeah, I'm also not really sure yet exactly how high I would rate him. And I'm always a bit of a Sven Glazer because I feel like he brings a lot of like personality to the team, which we know can also be bad, which is why I got like benched in 2021. You know, because of his like he gets like really intense with in reviews. So, but I think if like Sven can have like a really like a leadership role and be like good for the team vibes, and I rate that kind of highly of having someone like that in the team. But I do think so far Tactical has performed to a level where I'm like, okay, if we went into next year and the announcement was Tactical be our starting ADC and like not Sven. But like then again, I talked to the Cloud about this, where like our four players that are like competing for the spots, like mid and AD, are the ones that are like grinding ADC, are like grinding solo queue like really really hard, and like Sven is also like in the top 50 of solo queue right now. So I actually would love to see him play again, but in the end, I don't know how scrims are going. I don't even know if they're like still officially doing like a 7-man roster, or if it's just two benched guys and like 5 starters.
I thought if they were going to come in, they would have come in last series because I don't see the point in playing against FlyQuest and Lion as I'm testing out our older guys because it wouldn't surprise me if we beat them. Like because we've seen this roster be regular season merchants for all year basically. Like we literally until we played TL, we hadn't lost a regular season game this year. Series, sorry. So like, if you were going to bring them in, I think you would have brought them in by now. I'm curious if they fully put Tactical back on like a mage like Victor. I know he was able to do like fine in like the 1v1 versus Yon as Victor, but like his Cassie was really clean. I think that's probably the closest thing you can get to an AD carry as like a mage. His Ziggs was okay. I think Tactical's performing exactly how I predicted. He's a really good mechanical player. We are going to win a lot of lanes with him, but he can get caught in like crucial moments. That's genuinely that was my read on him, and he's kind of proven right. He's gonna be like in like the conversation with like third or fourth best AD carry behind like a Rahel or B-Boy, and definitely behind like Yon and Berserker. But yeah, like I have no problems with Tactical at the moment. What do you think, Cloud?
Yeah, I think he's performing kind of how I expected. I thought he would have better carry potential. And he'd also have mistakes that he has to learn, but he wouldn't be as sharp when it comes to like where he needs to be around the map. And I think that's exactly what we got in the first 3 weeks. But I do want to talk about DSG. So, Daywin, thank you so much for coming in and talking about Cloud9.
Thank you,
man.
No problem. Yeah, for DSG, after week 1, I was all alarm bells were on. What is going to happen with DSG? They're going to lose their slot. Whether it's, I'm just going to say NRG or whoever wins NACL, they were absolutely going to lose. And slowly but surely, I think they're performing better. They're improving, which is one of the things I said. Like the only way I could see a world where they don't, lose is if they do roster changes or drastically improve. Are they improving fast enough? I don't think so. But no. I don't know. I'm still worried for them.
Remember what I said last week about the issue? Is like they sometimes look like an NACL team, and sometimes they look like a tier 1 team. Like it generally looked that way games 1 and 3, where they just got completely. They looked like they didn't even deserve to be in the league. But then in game 2, they actually put up a fight, and then they actually controlled the lead, even when it got like a little bit dicey. Because I think our comp was pretty terrible into what they like ran, honestly, and we still at some points made it feel like, oh, are we gonna come back? Kind of like what FlyQuest did, where they were down 8K. I am concerned about them for NSL, but I haven't watched the competition like that's going to be coming up to face them, like especially on RG. So I can't really predict are they going to get relegated or not, but they kind of have to mimic what they did in game 2. But Blabber really ran Cryo this series. I think even in like game 2, he was just tracking the early game really, really well. But you're not playing against Blabber in an ACL, like, so it's just whether like Cryo can keep his mental, because like a lot of pressure is on him. He is getting some of the most flack on DSG, like outside of Lions, who straight up turbo inted that as a game 3, with the Rel engage level 1, the crash down, and then the game was just over for them lane bot lane.
Was it game 3? I think so, yeah.
I think Tactical's on Kate. Yeah, it is, yeah, so it must have been game 3.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I will say to your Kryra point, I do think Kryra has such signs of like excellence.
Yeah.
You can tell that this guy deserves to be in the league, and a few years later, like he could straight up just replace Blabber. He could be the next Griffin, the next Inspired.
Wrong environment.
But right now, just not on this team, and not right now. Yeah,
it's like he just has to keep the mental that you will get a decent spot at some point. Just don't destroy yourself from getting a spot.
I think Sajed also has his moments to shine. The issue with Sajed, though, and a little bit with Kryra, is that their support is outclassed by every other support in the game.
Close.
So yeah, so it's very hard.
I mean, like your supports come in and looked miles better than him in like 3 series. Like it's a problem.
Here's the thing: the 3 series, it was literally just 3, or was it 4? I think it was 4 best of 3s. No, it was 3 best of 3s and 1 best of 5. That Lions played well. Guess what? We were saying Kryra beat Inspired. We were talking about how maybe C9 should pick up Sajed. Like, the players have the talent, but maybe they're just held back by a support who's unable to keep up anymore. Like, I'm not saying Lions was always a bad player, but I do think he'll probably say it himself. Last time I talked to him, he mentioned how he was having a bad performance and trying to adapt to like being a leader because a bunch of these players are rookies, and he felt like oftentimes when you have a lot of responsibility on you, you play worse. So I'm not making excuses for him or anything, but it definitely is a situation where just playing worse because the support is not, the jungle support synergy ain't there and the laning ain't there. It's like, what do you do?
The problem is that there is like no leader really on that team. Like, you're asking a rookie jungle to basically lead like a mid laner who I don't know Komi's English very well. Like, you can tell me on that if his English is quite good. But you have a rookie ADC who does have carry potential. You have Soti who's just come into the team like within the past like split and a half. So is he really going to be the leader? And at least from my perspective, he sounds pretty timid. Maybe in game he's a bit more vocal, but so there isn't really like a communicative force on DSG.
Yeah, and I know that DSG fans are a little more optimistic for DSG than we are. And sure, I'm more optimistic than I was back in week 1 when I was like doom and gloom and like this team is done. I take it back. I think there's definitely signs of life, but I still need to see more.
This next call is going to be fun.
That's all I have. This what?
I said this next call is going to be fun.
All right. So Shopify played against
fun
Sentinels.
For you or for me, because I know that I'm going to get flack from my team, even though it's your topic.
So before we begin our next fan, let's set the stage. Shopify versus Sentinels. And you want to tag him in the chat so that he's ready. So Shopify versus Sentinels was a crazy series. We pulled off pretty much 4 out of 5s of the same picks that we did in last week when we almost beat Lion. It's like, all right, we're very comfortable. We have a draft that we know how to play. We have the Camille. We have the Ziggs. We have the Galio. We have the Jace. Like, everything is lining up to being exactly what we played beforehand. Obviously, we didn't flex the Jace into the jungle this time. But overall, you'd expect us to be able to play this comp. But the issue is, you're not drafting in isolation. You're drafting against an enemy team who's already seen this composition. And so they just picked better champions. They outpoked us with the way. They had the counter engage to the. They just played better. And it looked so defeating and so demoralizing. We lost one dragon and it was just like completely and entirely over. And then going into game 2, we were just losing and losing and losing until
Connolly has a few minutes, so should we drag him in now?
Oh, sure. We'll bring him in and then we'll talk more. So let me drag him in. So joining us is Con, a Shopify fan who's very vocal, just as much as I am. And I want to get your opinions, Con, on the series against Sentinels and how you're feeling about Shopify.
I think as a Shopify fan, this is probably the first week you're going to be feeling decent about prospects this season. In prior splits, we were the team that was like struggling getting like 2-1 series wins versus DSG and Dignitas. But luckily for us this split, another team seems to be having that struggle more. And, we're able to at least 2-0 DSG. We'll see what happens with Dignitas in the future. But it's interesting how tides are shifting that way. Still a little bit of Shopify needs some improvement there. Still, you have questions with sometimes the drafting, like you guys were just talking about, and coaching a bit. I am not off the hashtag fire Revan train, but I do think with your interview, Cloud, this week with even Fudge, people talking about hey, there's somebody kind of new in town, and there's likely going to be change in the future. So we actually got to start playing a lot better if we want to keep our spots. I think that's helped Shopify a lot, because when you have the de facto head of your esports League of Legends team publicly going out and saying I'm not going to make any roster changes if I don't have to, which might feel like you're backing up the team, but it just adds a huge level of complacency from top of the bottom of the org, and I feel like you saw that in the first 2/3 of the year. So I think the meta is working better in their favor a little bit more. Fudge has always been the best in best in North America has always been when it's been more of an AD top laner focused meta. He isn't always the one that's trying to play tanks. Zazel coming in is a million times better than Seos. I think I think Seos was great for the team in terms of connection to Brazilian fans. He was very happily engaged. But you'd be watching sometimes in the first half of the year, it's dude, how are we dying 2v1? We have the 2v1. How is Sales dying 2v1? So I think Zazel's kind of helped that a little bit. The team's still disjointed a bit, but this is the first time you can actually see prospects of this team fighting for that top 3 spot in North America.
So here's my question for you. After what you've seen in the first 3 weeks, considering trajectories and all that stuff and extrapolations, are we beating Cloud9 for the world spot or not?
I don't even think we have to worry about beating Cloud9 for the world spots. I think you're looking at more of a FlyQuest and Shopify style stuff. I even think there's a chance that Sentinels might beat Cloud9. I mean, Cloud9 in general just
we're
looks
not talking about Cloud9. We're talking about Shopify. Sharp Cloud.
Shopify beating Cloud9.
Do they play Cloud9 this week?
No. We play them in Mexico City.
This is the last week.
So we don't need to talk about.
Yeah, it's the last week of our teams.
There's week 7. Yeah.
But I think Shopify could match up well. I think one thing that's been positive is I think the meta just suits them a lot better. I think in some ways, Team Liquid and Lion has shown a team like Shopify the blueprint and how to beat some of these middle of the pack teams from earlier the split, whether it be C9, whether it be Sentinels this match, whether it be FlyQuest. I think the middle right now, the 3 teams of Shopify, C9, and FlyQuest, and maybe Sentinels in there, but I'm not as hot on Sentinels. It's gonna be an interesting fight to see which one of them wants to push up to that world slot.
I think it's a
Mark-
dogfight between 4 teams. Generally, like Sentinel's really frustrating because like they won game 1 like fairly convincingly. They had a good start game 2, and then they just decided they don't want to play the series anymore. And Fudge took over. Like when Fudge is on form, I like. Yes, I did want him out of C9 because he did get complacent, whether that be because of the coach or him. But when he's actually on form, he is a top laner, and like it is a big strength for Shopify that he's already like proven that he can beat Thanatos. I don't think Gatcross will be much trouble for him. They play similar champions, and I think Fudge has the Fudge factor. Sorry for the horrible pun. The big question mark for Shopify is Zinni. Yes, I think the bot lane or B-Boy is slightly regressed, but then Fudge has picked that up, and he's been like a big carry. Even in like the Lion series, he like performed pretty well. So yeah, like I think all teams have their like strengths. I think Sentinels is definitely probably the weakest of the middle of the pack right now. And it's interesting if Zinni can just hold on, you have a chance. If Zinni actually drastically improves, yeah, I could see Shopify making worlds, honestly.
Here's my question about Zinni. Constance, we have you here. What are your feelings about Zinni so far?
I mean, Zinni to me is reminding me a lot of first split and kind of first year Quid. What some people were saying about Saint earlier earlier in this year before Lion went on a good run. Even last year, like Zinni is going for some plays. He's making mistakes, and he's definitely looks like the weakest link at times because the plays he tries to make just don't work, and it feels bad. But kind of like Quid earlier this year with TL, Quid was making some questionable plays, and people were like, "Is this really the guy who was like an MVP that everybody thought was like the top free agent last summer outside maybe Inspired?" But if Zinni gets like more confidence, if like the communication starts working better with Zinni, with like your contracts, with whoever they bring in support, whether it be Zazel in the future or other people, like if they get more comfortable in that role, in the tier 1 type role, it could easily start looking out to being like a Saint or a Quid. All three of them play very similar styles, which isn't surprising. They all came up from Challengers League at the same time for LCK. Of like, if they get ahead and like their coin flip plays go their way, they can easily just stomp and carry a game throughout. But right now, it just hasn't worked that way with Zinni. But I'd rather see that than more of just like a safe lander that doesn't really isn't looking to make plays or isn't afraid to try and make plays.
I think with these LCK
Honestly,
Challenger
that's a pretty
players
cool perspective.
yes, like the majority of that league is if you're mechanically good, you're going to land on a top spot. It's the players that could come in and already have a decent sense of macro. Like Loki is a prime example. He was not rated highly, but he came in and looked a lot better than Zinni had in his first year and Saint and Quid. But that's because he had a better understanding on his team. They had a better understanding of macro, even if they weren't like highly rated. So that's why he looked more comfortable. It like once Zinni catches up, it will be terrifying if he can maintain that high mechanical form that he has like shown sparks, but obviously it's nowhere near the level. He looks highly disjointed. But like I think that's the kind of the risk and reward you take with him is if he can get to that level that we like was touted of him, then yeah, you've got like a big like problem for the rest of these teams on your hands.
I mean, if hypothetically speaking, if Zinni does turn on, it took Quid quite some time. Obviously, it was a very weird situation where he was in, and Loki took about a year. Towards the end of the year, he was really bopping off. I've been very down on Zinni, I'll be honest. Mm-hmm. But after hearing both of you guys, I'm like, wait a minute, we've seen this so many times. I should probably learn a thing or two about these super hyped up Korean, prospects. Quid wasn't even that hyped up, and he came in, and now he's like the best mid laner, second best mid laner. So I think I will change my perspective a little bit on Zinni. All right, any last things you want to say, Colin, before we talk about Sentinels?
I mean, I just want to say thank you, Cloud, for doing as much as you do with representing Shopify's fandom. We all just need to do better at putting pressure on Shopify for doing live events next year, especially. I mean, I live in Idaho, so this isn't even for me, but like they should be 100% doing events in Toronto at least twice a year, once a year at minimum, but twice a year. And I can't even like at them on Twitter to try to do this stuff because I wanted a coach fired for being a bad front facing leader, but hey.
Well, we have a GM you can tweet at, right?
I do have a GM now, David Hahn, who I have high hopes for. I heard he built some good rosters, and I think, as long as we don't bring over a player who hasn't made like an international tournament since like 2023, we should be fine.
All right, thank you so much for joining, and let's get into
thank you, man.
Sentinels.
Yeah, thank you.
For Sentinels.
suck
Also, that
ass.
was relatively reasonable. Dude, okay, I legitimately going into the series, I was like, Sentinels is at 5, we're at 6. And I don't think, personally, that we improved so that we are like 5th place level. I think Sentinels went from 5th to 6th. And like, so in a race, you can speed up to pass the person.
Like tie for 6th. And there's just a 4th place team.
No. I think we're actually better than Sentinels. But I don't think it's a situation that we accelerated and passed them. I think it's a situation where they slowed down. They hit the brakes and came behind us.
I mean, they've been doing it all
Man,
year.
it was...
I have a funny but controversial point on Sentinels. They're just a rich man's DSG who looked good at the start of the year and have not improved.
But there are very different reasons. I think
I think it's just like a funny, controversial
maybe the symptoms,
line.
sure.
The line.
No, but here's the thing. At least with Sentinels, they looked good when playing against other teams. It's not like they never had DSG went for 8 weeks or something looking horrible until they played Dignitas. Basically, they played Dig and then they're like, oh wow, we can actually win. And then they played against Shopify and got destroyed and didn't make it to playoffs. And then they've continued their circle of suck. At least with Sentinels, even if you count the online qualifiers, they look good. They were playing. They had their upsets. They beat Cloud9, if I'm not mistaken. There was much to do.
Yeah, in the EWC they kind of smashed.
So they clearly have moments on stage where they're playing better, and their coaching staff, everyone just says oh, they play they just choke. And I talked to Hambach, and he was just like, they're just making a lot of mistakes. And he feels like oftentimes they get in the moment, the heat of the moment gets to them, and they just make plays without thinking. And that's really, when I talked to Impact, that's kind of what he said. He was like, we're just choking. We're doing stuff we know we shouldn't be doing. We're not thinking about it. When I talked to Deus...
ask you a question on Sen. Do you think Hambach is the next Jose? Where if he went to a C9, he just elevates to the next level because he's doing the things he's doing, but now on a more competent team or
I'll tell you why. Jose has this mentality of I'm going to enjoy the moment. At the end of the day, it's video games. I'm just going to play and have some fun. That's how he's always been. Hambach gets in his head a lot. When I talk to him, the interview is coming out tomorrow, but when I talk to him, he gets in his head a lot. When I talked about his teammates, even when I was talking with Impact, he was like, yeah, sometimes, Hambach just does stuff. And I'm like, I'll be telling him, why are you doing this? He's like, I knew it was bad, but I felt pressured. Hambach clearly gets in his own head. I even asked him if they had a sports psychologist, and he was like, yeah, we do. You'll see my very, very horrible attempt at explaining what a sports psychologist is in Korean, because I'm like, I don't know what that word is. So I'm just like, the doctor for your head? Yeah. He's like, oh. I was like, no, not for your head, for the mental.
Oh, man.
So yeah, I don't think that he would, unless he gets this over this nerves. Again, Quid had a situation where he was nervous, and maybe that's what happened. Hambach comes in, no one has any expectations. He's playing. He doesn't even know what teams are good or bad, and he's smurfing. And then all of a sudden, he's like, oh wait, Lion inspired. Oh my god, top 3 of world. Oh, at MSI. Oh my god, these players, it gets to your head.
Yeah, it feels like he gets a bit starstruck, which it's funny because he's played against some of the best junglers to ever touch this game. you think like he'd have like the Loki mentality of, okay, now that I've played against the elite of the elite, these players shouldn't phase me. Like when you're playing against like Peanut and Canyon and Owner, like you shouldn't be worried about Blabber and XEU and like like these players. Like you shouldn't be concerned at all in comparison.
I don't think it's necessarily about the name. Maybe now that you say it, it's probably just like the fact that he's playing LCS. Like he didn't start for a very long. He wasn't even getting scrims before he came over. So it could be just a situation of like, oh, now it's an official game and like he feels pressured. And one thing goes wrong and the next thing goes wrong. Like, dude, game 2, just so you know, game 2, that NAR game was like crazy. They got 2 Barons, just so you know. They got 2 Barons that game. They got Baron and lost within 2 minutes, like less than 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I think the percentage for winning with 2 Barons was like 86%. Like they obviously brought it down, but it was like we had a lead. We threw the lead. They won that team fight. They got Baron. They got the Dragon. They got a second Baron and still lost that game. And it's like, okay, go on, man. Although I do think Contract Smurf that last team fight, which is the reason we kind of won. But yeah, it's. I asked him what's the biggest thing he regrets from that series, and he was like the Baron smite at the very end of game 3. He was like, man, if I just got that smite. I wasn't gonna break it to him. I was like, you're probably still gonna lose, considering what happened with your Baron's last game. But
like genuinely, like before we get on to our first and only dual fan talk of the night, coming up next, I genuinely thought after like the first like 10-15 minutes of game 2, I was like, okay, this is a 2-0 for Sen. Like they started like picking up comfortably. I was like, this just looks like a mess, and then Sen just. I can't even explain it. Like I'm not like trying to like downplay your performance, because I think like you could only beat what's in front of you, and at the end of the day, like Sen aren't playing well.
On contract smurfed.
Yeah, like I think your top side is shoring up a lot of deficiencies at the moment. Like Fudge is going freaking nuclear, which he has those periods. I think Fudge, when the pressure's on, is a good player. When he determines, I think like with Fudge, and he can completely shut this down in like an interview with you or whatever. I feel like when he puts pressure in his life, he is one of the top players in the LCS. But when he doesn't feel like that internal pressure, he doesn't show up. Like I think he took his like what I forgot the term, but like off the boil on like the latter stage of C9, where I think everything was just going wrong, and I just don't think he was trying. Like genuinely, I don't think he was trying as hard as like when it came down to it with C9. But when he actually, it sounds silly, but when he actually tries, he is genuinely like a joy to watch.
I mean, just to put your words into his words, basically what he said was that his last stint on Cloud9 was a situation where, I guess, from losing so often to the Eastern mid laners, he changed his mentality without really noticing. It wasn't like on purpose, but from, oh, this is how I win the game to this is how I'm not going to lose the game. And you could see it because it really did look like he was being a lot more passive.
Like
exactly.
Everyone remembers in C9, it's like a meme with like Fudge Aatrox, where he would just pick Aatrox and then do nothing and then flank and die, even if he has like a 2k gold lead in the lane because he's built up like a big CS lead, and then he would die and then do nothing. He'd end the game like 0-2-0 or something like that. So if you can refine what made Fudge good in the early stages, like 21 and 22, then I think Shopify at least have a good top side to work with for next year.
Yeah, I mean his Zen and his Zehen, sorry, not Sen. His Zehen and his Nar were good. I thought that the Zehen, like, it's pretty short range, the team comp they were playing against, but again, it was like what, 2 melee? Melio was like really hard for Zehen to play in, but he made it work. Kudos to him.
Yeah.
And I mean, Rahel didn't die that game, but he lost the game, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, wanna move on to our 2 fans for Dignitas versus Lion? All right, let me bring in both of them. So we have Skander, who's a Lion fan, and we have Misa, who's a Dignitas fan, also works for Dignitas. So that's pretty cool to have someone represent.
Also works for us. Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah, also works for us. Does really cool stuff. So I'll start with you, Misa. How are you feeling as a Dig fan right now?
I
Agreed.
honestly very hopeful considering the roster changes, especially with like the introduction of like Dardoch and Denethor, who are very great. It's really good to see such a legacy organization, bring up this tier 2 talent and, give them a chance to shine. Well, I know Dardoch's not really tier 2, whatever. But I honestly am feeling a lot better than I did when the season started.
Okay.
Yeah. I wish, and I'm not here to flame Dig, but I genuinely wish I saved this Reddit comment. It was like, in Dig's trophy cabinet, it will say, took Lion close for 15 minutes.
That's funny. I think Dig has always shown signs of life, and I think the idea of like, oh, they kept losing 2-1, they kept losing 1-2, kept losing 1-2, and kept getting close, but not finishing out these series, definitely took a toll on their mental. So I am happy to see like Dardoch and Denethor, like you said. I don't know that this. I think this makes them better than DSG. I don't know if it takes them above, like, into playoffs. Like, can they beat Sentinels? That's the question. If they beat Sentinels, they're into, and DSG, they're in playoff. But can they do it? They lost to Sentinels already. Oh wait, yeah. So it's gonna be tough. They're gonna have to like beat FlyQuest and who else do they play? And us, Shopify.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Well, what is esports if not having blind faith in your team, right?
Fair enough. Yeah.
True.
As for Lion Scander, how you feeling?
I mean, you can't have any ideas except for something positive. I mean, they've been stomping in lane. I love seeing how proactive Sane is on the map. I think he really like punishes other laners when they try and push their advantage, which I enjoy to see. I think once Inspired joins this team, they're going to be a monster in the LCS. It's almost who's playing for second and third. Really excited to see them go to internationals eventually, as long as everything goes well, of course. Don't want to jinx anything. But their current form, their lanes are just putting so much pressure on the enemy team. It's hard for them to really do anything.
Do you know how crazy it is? This is how I used to sound when we would go to every international event and compete for titles, and now I can't even talk about that.
Once upon a time.
Exactly, once upon a time. But do you know how crazy it is? You get to 6-0 start, you've already played one of the top 3 contenders, and you've had Armeo in the jungle for 3 weeks, and then you get the best player in the West back after he's like time away. He's going to be rejuvenated, and then you're going to slam people even more. It's like, I'm jealous.
No, it's unreal. But I do have to give props. I mean, Dig really laid it all out there the first game.
Yeah.
It was I would even say it was a stomp the first 15 minutes. There was a gold lead in every part of the map. But I mean, Berserker, of course, he kept safe. He farmed up, and then all of a sudden a team fight happens and blow the game up.
Yeah, that's usually how it is, no?
Aw. I think it's a cheat code though. You guys have Saint and Berserker. Like against Shopify, for example, that game 1, you guys were down. Like the composition was like basically impossible, and then Saint just somehow manages to like dodge all the vision and land his RA charms and like flash on the wall and just like do these heroics. Or the Ezreal play where he lives on like literally 13 HP against Camille ult with Galio with Ziggs. Like how does he even like? You guys just have these players that make miracle happens, and you don't even have your best player. I can't imagine you guys not feeling
I have
great.
a funny story to tell. So one of my like friends who's not watched LCS for years was like tuning in with me this week. We're watching in Discord, and he didn't see the record of like line 2-0, and he saw the rosters, and he saw a lot of familiar faces. He's like, oh, so this is the 9th and 10th place teams, right? Because he saw like Armeo, Dokla, Isles, and I was like, no, brother, they're a top 3 MSI team. And he's like,
That's
what?
so funny.
He was like,
Not only
Oh man, I gotta tell
he's-
Dokla this.
he's like, Dokla? He's like, yeah, he's a multi-type LCS champion now. And it's like, dude,
Yes, sir.
like, but watching them the past 3 weeks, you can tell Inspired's had a lot of effect on these players like Doka and Isles, who have obviously taken more
Oh, yeah.
ownership than they were Inspired not being there. Like literally, Armeo's just been a passenger princess getting to chill on the LCS stage while his teams just rail everyone.
Absolutely. And I think a couple things I wanted to touch on. I mean, usually with inspired teams, you kind of see his form of communicating, and that's usually seen as like a negative where it can, blow up mentals, it can kind of crash and burn. But it really seems like the way that Lion interacts with each other, they almost appreciate his bluntness and appreciate his communication style. I think that is another key factor in what keeps them like rock solid.
Yeah, I
And
mean
then-
the players have talked about that.
And then the other point, I mean, Isles, I would say like split one. He came in, he was like, "Hey, I want to learn, I want to get better. I know I'm not doing what I need to do." And he has stuck to his word. I mean, he's up there, I would say top 5 might be like a little aggressive, but in the world, I think he could definitely contest that top 5 for support. His style at MSI was beautiful. He's picking up new champs, Camille. Like he's really laying it all out there, and I
He's the
gotta say
best
it's
support in
impressive.
NA now. I'm
Yeah.
comfortable saying that. I
Yep.
think he's overtaken Vulcan in like that spot.
From
I
support
would
pool being
absolutely
pretty
agree.
weak to now, it's actually not that bad. Our top 3 are all pretty good.
Yeah.
Misa, how does it feel to have an ex-Dig support, Dig talent, sorry, finishing top 3 at MSI and then representing North America so well, even though he's not from North
I've
America?
I've always had the mindset of Dignitas likes breeding NA talent. So we were simply just a stepping stone on his way to be one of NA's best. You know what I mean? You can look at the history and see the little Dignitas shaped mark on it. You know. So I honestly feel pretty good about it.
I have a question for you about Dardock, because everyone saw the Dokler interaction with him, the short, like it's pretty wholesome, and everyone's very high on him after one weekend, that one very good start against Lion. I'll ask you, Misa, do you think Dardock has genuinely changed, or do you think in a few weeks we may get what I think people are
Breaking
anticipating,
Point
like
Part 2.
Yeah, very much.
So I've watched him play in NACL because I do some work in Tier 2.
Yeah.
And I've seen like clips of his interviews with like other like some of my other colleagues, and honestly, I think while watching his time in Tier 2, I and seeing how well spoken he is, and seeing how much he's reflected on his past in LCS and everything that's happened in his career so far, I genuinely I think he has changed for the better. I think he's doing a lot better than he was before. I think he's taken the time being out of LCS to really have a better perspective of his entire career and how he functions with all the teams that he's on and stuff like that. So I give him double thumbs up. I think he's doing great.
That's great. Yeah.
All right. Last thing I wanted to ask Misa and Sander, actually different questions. For Misa, what do you think, who do you think Dignitas will knock out of playoffs in order to make it? Because I'm assuming you're going to say, yes, of course we're going to make it.
Ooh. I honestly haven't thought that far ahead yet. Ooh. I think maybe FlyQuest?
Okay. Radley's going to be, yeah, I'm going to ask him about that next.
Nice.
All right. Skander, for you, my question is, do you, like, as a percentage, every time playoffs comes around, they do this on the analyst desk or the lounge, where they say, like, would you rather take, Lion as the favorites or the rest of the field? Right now, what would you give Lion a percentage versus the rest of the field?
I would give
Does that make
Lion a strong 80% chance against the rest of the field.
That's crazy.
That's heavy, but I mean, the only contester I think is Team Liquid, and Lion has shown time and time again that they've been able to beat Team Liquid. So I think it's going to come down to the travel show, really. But if we beat them in our hometown, I think that no one can contest us.
All right, I'm excited for that, man. That week 6 is going to be so much fun. For Misa, week 5 is going to be great because Dignitas get to play twice. But they play what? FlyQuest and DSG, right? But
I believe so, yeah.
yeah. But week 6 is going to be so cool. Mexico City. I wish I could go, but obviously. All right, thank you, both of you guys. Any last words from you, Misa?
Go Dignitas.
All right. Any last words, Gander?
No, thank you for all you do. Appreciate being on here.
All right, thanks for coming on. It's been fun.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Thanks.
Honestly, she's a lot more hopeful for Dignitas than I thought. I guess fresh blood does make you.
I mean, they have something
more
like they have something to be happy about in terms of like Dardock brings a lot more positivity with like his attitude and good vibes, and I think he would be good on content. Like he's very well spoken on like pros. Like he did generally speak like a veteran. Who's been here around the block. He obviously has. Do I think they're going to win? No, it wouldn't shock me. That they will probably go like 1-7. Maybe.
Okay, I mean,
I think
they just have to beat DSG, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think they'll beat DSG, but like they're already 2 games behind the pack. So like I'm struggling to give them more than 1, and you have to, and that's like without Ten or Shopify winning another series like this split, right? Could have already lost.
Yeah. Well, here's what I think. I can't have much faith for them this weekend because we're playing against them. So I got to be like, all right, like they're going to lose O2. We're going to beat them. We're going to guarantee playoffs, almost guarantee 5th. And then if we beat one person, we'll be 4th. But yeah, just as a Shopify fan, I have 2 things before we bring in Bradley for FlyQuest versus Team Liquid. The first thing is that I called it. I literally said at the beginning of the split, before anything started, I looked at our schedule and I said, there's a world where we start off 3-1 and we're going to be top, like we're going to be like second. Obviously we won't be like technically second because first place will have like a tie, but we'll be like in that second spot. So like tied for 3rd or whatever. And we're like, we just have to beat Dignitas, which I'm going to assume we are going to do. The second thing is I said this, David was here, David Shynock, and we should clip this and post this. He was on our podcast at the beginning of this year when we did the crossover / LCS report podcast. And we talked about how Team Liquid are like a super roster, a super team with really, really good players, and Quid's MVP. And I said at the beginning of the year, he is not going to be comfortable. He's not going to play well. I'm not going to predict them to win until summer because I don't think that they're going to do well. I think he's going to need to time. The Team Liquid environment is a lot more stressful. It's a lot. And that's literally what happened. Quid took literally like 6.5 months for him to turn on to MVP level Quid. And once he did, he's looking like the best mid laner. Him and Saint, right? Top 2 at the very least. But it took him 6 months basically for him to get comfortable. And David's idea was like, no, I think he's actually like sure with the Quid point, but I think just because of how good they're all together, that Team Liquid's actually going to do well in the first couple spins. They've always won LCS lock-in. So, I mean, they ended up finishing 4th. But I just want to take my credit to where I thought that this team would require time for them to actually gel, for them to actually play well together, for Quid to feel comfortable, for him to look like MVP. And now he looks great. He's won 2 out of 3 of the player of the weeks. He's like absolutely smurfing that game against FlyQuest where he kills his mid. No, he goes top, kills the top laner, goes to the jungle, kills the jungler, and then Corja J sets up the support, the mid laner, and he goes and he gets 3 kills at like 6 minutes. It was just like it's so much fun watching Quid when he's actually playing well.
I think what I will say is this isn't possible without the surgence of Core and Morgan, because we've seen Yon have really good character performances this year. Jose competing for MVP, Quid not as strong as he was, but still relatively high level. But Morgan and Core were not at the pace where they needed to be like a competing team in the LCS. And then last playoffs, late in spring, Core and Morgan really turned it on. I think Morgan's now comfortably the best top laner in the LCS. And Core was since gone to MSI, like come back and he looks like phenomenal. He had a great MSI. It's a shame it was cut short because of the play-ins thing, which we can get into like that rumor like at the end of the show about World's play-ins.
I'd rather
don't want
not.
to?
I
That's
think,
fair.
yeah, we're gonna hear like stuff that comes from the LCP. I tend to ignore, to be honest.
Yeah, that's fair. But like, I generally feel, who do you actually think's the worst player on TL? That's a fun question to ask before we go on to Fly.
I mean, it's Yawn,
Yeah,
right?
I was gonna say like, do you know how crazy that sounds? Like when before it was, if Yon doesn't carry, this team
The
looks
second best
garbage.
AD carry. I know. The second best AD carry in the league is the worst player on his team. It's like that's a great problem to have, man.
That is a really great problem.
All right, let's bring in Radley, the FlyQuest fan who unfortunately had to face against the Team Liquid this weekend. My man Radley, how are you feeling?
What do you think?
Devastated, distraught, destroyed. I don't know, a lot of these D words.
So let's start off with the negatives because there's a lot of negatives to go over. Honestly, on Sunday I posted that Mr. Incredible meme where it starts out with him smiling and then it goes to the black and white screen. And that's pretty accurate to how I'm feeling right now. Sunday was something else. A couple other things that have me concerned. A lot of people think Gakos is really the problem. I don't think so. I think he's doing quite well personally. Griffin, I don't think he's capable of currently at his current level. He's capable of finding the right spot to win the game. Quad looks the same as he did last year, which wasn't great. I wish he would return to his 2023 level, which I thought was fantastic. And then Masu, in my opinion, he's still the best bot in the league, and Crouch, and I'm still gonna give him some leeway because he's still figuring out his way in the league. Another thing I'm gonna bring up that is really concerning. Think Card was in Brazil last year with Furia. He got Furia to MSI, and did they get second in Split 2 or did they get first? I don't remember.
So Split 1, because of the fact that we had LTA, they actually didn't actually make it top 4.
Right. Split 2, they were first in Brazil, right?
Yes, Split 2 they were first.
And then Split 3, did they not make it to Worlds or were they second at Worlds?
No, so VKS made it. I think they finished 3rd, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
I think
okay.
Furia
So
ended up. Yeah.
that's what I remember too. And that concerns me as well. Like he went down there, he was supposed to rile up this roster that's like one of the best in the league now. He got them up there for MSI, and then for Worlds we fell flat. And
let me push back a little bit on that. And I'll let you finish your point, but he actually took a roster that no one had much faith in. Like that, he made the roster changes in order for them to even like win in that Split 2. He brought in he brought in the rookies for them from Academy because they were struggling. And I don't think anyone going into the year had Furia as a top 3. It was very obvious, like Loud, obviously, right? Even though they had lost Zeus, like they were still pretty looked up on, and like you saw there was also like a confusion of which teams are going to be good because we had the whole Isurus and like the whole merger, so it was a little murky, and I don't think anyone really thought going into Split 2 that Furia was going to win.
Sure. That doesn't change my point about Split 3, though. I think
Yes,
if
it
you
doesn't. Yeah.
set an expectation at Split 2 that they're the best team, I think you need to follow up and at least take second place, if not first, in Split 3. And the fact that we took fourth in Split 1, or kind of a pseudo fourth, I guess it was 5th/6th. We took fourth in Split 2, and we're looking worse. This split is making me really concerned.
I'm not concerned about FlyQuest, honestly. I think it's unfair on these kids to think that they should elevate to the world-class level that you're seeing from Team Liquid and Lion, where they've both gone to MSI and First Stand and had really strong performances, put in, like, they are better equipped to come back and put their learnings on the rest of the league. Like, Team Liquid's come in and they've looked like they were what they were showing at MSI, where they're just slamming teams. Like, I just think it's unfair on. I think people not overhyped, like, because that's not the correct word, but like they're a 1 year, in my opinion, ahead of schedule. Like,
Yes.
they are 1 year ahead of their development schedule, and if you really like, I know Cloud may contest me on this, but if you really, really deep it, their only contest, like, for Worlds in that third spot is a C9 team that has not made an international in 3 years. And other than that, you have a Shopify team who have not put it together, and Sentinels that have not progressed since Split 1. And they were a good online team for EWC where they slammed them, and they haven't beaten them, like, consistently on stage. So, like, yes, they haven't beat C9 in an official LCS game this year. They've lost every single time. But I think it's unfair for people to have this expectation of FlyQuest that they should be at the level of Lion and Team Liquid. You could say you wish you showed a better showing in the Lion series, considering they didn't have their main player, and it was a significant advantage to FlyQuest in the jungle. But other than that, you've placed Lion and TL, and then DSG. Like, if you perform bad against the rest of the middle of the pack, then sure, I think it's frustrating, considering you were a top 3 contender in Split 2. But I mean, at the end of the day, you're fighting for third, and I think that's an absolute okay spot to be in.
I'll add to that.
Can I push back a little bit on that?
Yeah,
Connor?
go ahead.
Yeah, sure.
So I'm just gonna put this point out there. First off, Martin, this is gonna make you happy me saying this, because I'm always a Cloud9 hater when it comes to Loki. But I think you guys are actually looking really strong with Loki. That I'm one of few people that thinks that. It bugs me because I really like APA, but that's beside the point. And so the fact of the matter is these guys were put together to go to Worlds by the end of Split 3. And the fact that we're like questioning
Wait,
if we're
FlyQuest?
gonna make it
I
there.
don't think, like,
No, by
sorry
the end
to,
of
like,
Split 3.
I'm sorry, like, I think that's a changed perception on what people had on FlyQuest at the start of the year, which was to finish around 5th, 6th, and if they perform any higher, great, they've overachieved. I still think they're overachieving in comparison to the expectations, and I don't think, like, yes, you could say that.
Didn't
okay,
Big Parts say that he wanted to make it to Worlds this year?
I think every coach will say that. They're like, even Dig will say
That's
that.
after they started, like, that wasn't the initial, like, so management, right? If you look at, like, the higher ups, the GM and whatnot, when they built this roster, they said 2 things. One, it's a big gamble. We don't have a shot caller in the jungle or support. Having both of them be rookies is very, very dangerous, very risky, but we're willing to take a risk. And then number 2, our goal is to make Worlds in 2 years. This is a 2-year project, not a 1-year project. And so, like, coming into the year, I actually, like, coming into lock-in, LCS lock-in, I put FlyQuest at 8th because I said they don't have a shot caller, they don't know how to play together. Like, you were complaining about Quad's performance, but I have sympathy for Quad because he has to shot call now. Like, he didn't have to do anything when he was inspired, and now he has to shot call, and he has a better mid pool to play around. Like, Saint is playing well, Quid is great. I mean, APA was playing pretty well back when he was still playing in the LCS.
Yeah,
I do love it how you guys are the sympathizers for the team that I'm supposed to be representing, and I'm
well, like, the thing is, oh, I completely lost my train of thought. But TL Online have done exactly what we expected of them. FlyQuest hasn't. We wasn't expecting them to be at this level. And yes, one can argue, like, you should be fighting for third. I think that's completely acceptable, like, thing. And I'd be disappointed if they didn't compete for third and they finished like 5th or 6th. However, you have to remember that it is a pace thing with these young players who, yes, they started off really, really hot, but they're going to, like, it's going to slow down eventually. And it's about maintaining this form next year because, like we said, you played the top 2 teams probably in the West, like, in your first 2 weeks of the first 2 out of 3 weeks of LCS. And, like, if you go in against C9 next week and then you get slammed, maybe it's frustrating because then I would firmly, like, okay, I'm biased. I think we look better than them, like, already. But then again, the competition's a little bit skewed. We're playing
I
the
kind of
worst,
disagree.
like, the worst 2 teams in the West versus Flacco's playing the best 2 teams in the West, so it's a little bit different. But like, if you go and get slammed, then you can maybe start to hit the, okay, we may not make Worlds. Because, like, you still have Shopify to play who, can they figure it out? Maybe. Sen? Maybe. It's like, it's a big coin flip because, like, it is a 4-horse race, even if I think it's a 2, but and I'm not telling FlyQuest fans to be happy because obviously, like, you want standards, but it's also about Team Liquid and FlyQuest and Lion have leveled up to the level that we expected of them, like, eventually getting to at the start of the year. I think everything looked closer between the top teams at the start of the year, but now it's our top teams have now risen above the, like, middling level that we had, and now, like, the middle teams have kind of stayed the same, while our top teams have now cleared them. So I think Fly are right where they should be, in my opinion.
So one thing I did want to point out, and this was going to be my positive take. I said all the negatives and I forgot to put out the positives. This is going to be my positive take. Is that this is technically still regular season. FlyQuest still has the chance to come back during the playoffs. I still do not change my perspective that I'm concerned about the performance right now. But if they can put it together for playoffs, that's really realistically all that matters. You know, I wish we would stop picking Jin for Masu, but who knows whose idea that is.
I mean, I'm a big Jin defender because I think when built correctly, this champion is an S tier bomb laner at the moment. I just don't think people know how to build him. Like, we're like looking at FBI. That's something I should have brought up with me. So, like, what's going through his head with that mosquito build?
Back scratcher of Jin build, yeah.
Exactly. Like,
that was horrible.
yeah. Okay, since we may not have you on again, like, for the rest of the year, like, yes or no, does FlyQuest make Worlds?
My guess right now.
Yes.
If I had to base it off of just regular season performance, as of right now, no.
Ooh, all right.
That
I would have said yes, to be honest.
You would have said yes.
Uh,
Yeah.
if it was if I could make that prediction next week after we've faced C9, I might change, but I don't. I have very low faith right now.
Where would you be like? Sorry, I let Cloud speak in a second. Like, where in that series against C9 are you most concerned?
What lane or what?
Like,
What?
yeah, like what position, what player from either team are you like most concerned about? Where do you think your strengths are in
Griffin.
that? That's interesting.
Griffin's my top player for the reason why we are losing games. And I think that it's not so much his subsequent ints, it's his first few ints in the game. The first few times he dies in the game, he'll have like what looks like an insane angle. He'll die and it snowballs the rest of the game. And he keeps fighting because he sees like I heard Kadril say this about Kanavi, that Kanavi will just go in for a 50-50 and then he'll go for a 40-60 and then a 30-70 until it finally works or they just die. That's the way I see Griffin play too. He goes in for this 50-50. If they win the fight, they're just going to outright win the game. But if he doesn't, then he's going to keep going for these plays, and it looks like he's inting. And I love the guy, but I don't know what's stopping it or what keeps him doing it or doing these plays. It just that's my biggest frustration with Fly right now. Griffin's he's my favorite player to watch, but he's my biggest frustration player on the team.
That's fair. Any last words? Thank you so much for coming on.
Sorry for taking so much time.
No, you're good, man.
Nope, no last words. Thank you guys so much for having me on, and we'll catch you guys later.
All right, thanks, man.
All right, have a good one.
There was one point I wish I brought up is like, not that it's going to be an area of strength for FlyQuest, but I do think Thanatos is having a little bit of a down split thus far. I don't think he's playing as good, but
where would you rank Thanatos? It was actually a question I wanted to ask you, but it was going to be up against Fly, like your series preview.
Where do I rank him?
Yeah, in terms of top laners, because Morgan's number one, we can both agree on that. It's a little debatable between him and Dokla. Sure,
I'm not gonna rank him on pure strength because obviously I'd still put him 1 or 2, but I think there's if I go down the list, like Fudge's playing better, Dokla's playing better, Morgan's playing better. Around like 4th.
Ooh, okay. So below Dokla, I don't know. I mean, I guess Dokla has had more carry performances, but no, it's not Dokla. Fudge. Fudge has.
I mean, the
Thanos
is like good game. I think he's being targeted more, but then it's also, I think it may just be a thing of less resources going to top lane because we now actually have a mid-end bot lane that can actually
maybe, yeah.
Like, so maybe he's just kind of going under the radar, but he had a good Aatrox game. Like, I do love him on that champion.
I would have put him at 3rd or 4th. Like, I don't know if I would put Fudge above him just yet, but I think it's close. I think Fudge is more important to his team. That's for sure.
If we're basing it off the first 3 weeks, I'd say Fudge has been playing better. But it's not like
that's true. Yeah. Based on the first 3 weeks, I would give it
considering
to
who we're playing against. Like considering who we've played against, we played against. Ironically, he had significantly better laning performances against Morgan than he did against 30, and Denethor, which is really interesting. Maybe it's just because he has a better read on Morgan, so he knows how to play that match.
Yeah, they played against each other a lot. Yeah.
I'm making excuses. I don't think he's played as well. I think other players. It's really funny. I actually think Blab was playing fine. Like, I think he's played quite fine. I love him on Poppy. It's like if we could play him on Poppy every single game, we'd win the LCS. Like, I just love how
he's such a regular season merchant, though. He's such a regular season merchant.
He is. I love him on that champion. Like, it's just the way he plays the game with Poppy is so creative. But
I agree. I think Blabber, like, we'll get into predictions in a second, but when it comes to playoffs, I don't know. Blabber just doesn't play that great. So that's why I have Blabber beating FlyQuest in the regular season, but then come playoffs, I don't know that I would make that same assessment. But we can get into the series prediction. Unless you have something more to say about Team Liquid. I think we talked a lot about Team Liquid the past 2 weeks. They're the best team right now. Once Armeo leaves, Inspired is supposed to come back this week. If he does come back, and then we can kind of compare
quote
Team Liquid and
Boxing,
Lion and see who's first
like
or
to
second.
quote like Fying, TO are like the interim best team in the league.
Yeah, they're interim champions right now.
Yeah, until Lion has full strength, and then we can kind of see. I'm looking forward to that matchup, both in playoffs and in a couple of weeks in Mexico.
Yeah, same here. All right. Yeah, let's just get into series predictions. Team Liquid versus DSG.
2-0 Team Liquid.
Yeah, same. I think it's gonna be rough. Best team versus the worst team. It's not gonna be pretty. Shopify versus Dignitas. What are we feeling?
2-1 Shopify.
I'm gonna say 2-0. I'm a little confident, just a little. I'm gonna give us enough that I would say 2-0. After that, we got C9 versus FlyQuest. What are you thinking?
2-0 C9. We're
2-0
finally gonna
C9. Wow.
another week of improvements. Like apparently, like when I've spoken to people, we're actually been even against good teams, pretty good in scrims now. I think we just have to keep improving and see how it goes. I think 2-0 against Fly. We're regular season merchants,
All
even
right,
if we're
I'm
not
gonna
as
say
full strength.
2-1. I'm not as brave as you. I'm gonna say 2-1 Cloud9. I do think that Blabber is just gonna gap. Like the Blabber Vulcan duo is so much better and so much smarter than the Cryo Griffin duo. And I think that will be a big difference.
Yeah.
And then lastly, we have Lion versus Sentinels.
2-1 Lion, because if Inspired straight away back, it's unclear how much time he'll have back with the team. If he's going to be jet lagged, if he's immediately like coming off the plane and playing, like, and there was even talk that Armeo still maybe playing. I think was it Rigby said it. Someone said it like they're on.
I didn't see that.
I saw it on Twitter earlier. Like one of the coaches saying like it may be a couple of weeks still. It may be next week. It's all down to Inspired when he comes back. If it's on Mayo, then yeah, I think it's 2-0 Lion. But it generally depends on when Inspired comes back and like the time that they have for like scrims.
Yeah, I expect them to win anyways. Like,
Yeah.
those are all the matchups. Do you want to get into our fantasy? My fantasy team was so bad. I got 100 points. Our joint team got 123 points. I should have taken my advice that I gave you when we were picking up players, which is like, this is a bad week for matchups, so we shouldn't try to maximize the variety buff. And then what did I do on my own team? I tried to maximize the variety buff, and I ended up just completely chugging it. I could have gotten rid of Masu because I knew that they were going to play against a really good team, like Team Liquid. But I kept Masu, and he got me 4.96 points, man. He got me 4.96 points. I came off of 170 points to 100. So I feel bad. I should have just picked up B-Boy, man. I don't know. He was cheaper. I would have made money off of that trade. Anyways, let's see what we can do for this. Yeah, let's see what we can do this time. I think we should have a good amount of points. Because we have really good matchups where I personally, I think I want to focus on Lion players, Team Liquid players, Shopify players. I want to try to stay clear off of the Cloud9 and FlyQuest players if possible. We might need one from them, but
hopefully it does not appear on thing. Okay, I think I turned it off. Cool. We're back. And we have 0.7
yeah.
budget.
Yeah, so I think that we try to keep our oh, we don't have Team Liquid players. I have Team Liquid players on
We
my
have
team.
core.
Yeah, if we do have core, so maybe if we can get rid of, let's see, in jungle, can we get rid of Blabber and go up? Not enough. We need 1 full point.
Yeah.
For top lane, it's too expensive. Okay, this is interesting. Let's see. Maybe we can get rid of quad and pick up APA. That will give us enough that we can upgrade in our jungle, right?
Does Loki's
That's
points
0.7.
count towards APA?
Oh, you're right. You're right. Never mind. It's there's a debuff. It won't work. Let's not do that. Let's definitely not do that. I forgot about that. Okay, I'm trying to find where we can make upgrades, and we're kind of stuck with Cloud9 unless we go Dokla for top lane. That'll give us enough points to then go for what's his name? Jose.
I like that.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I like that a lot. What champion do you want to pick for
But I
Dokla?
think then for Dokla, he's been playing a lot of Gnar. Let's give him Gnar. The only problem I have with that is we might just be at 15% instead of 25, and I don't know if it's
that gives us the 16 debuff, variety buff.
the 15%, right?
No, 25.
Oh wait, we have. Oh, okay. I guess I. Okay, I'm trying to look. No. Oh, because I was asking to get rid of Blabber and put in what's his name,
Oh, you want to?
and put in Jose. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So it'll give us the level 5 buff.
All right. I'm gonna play Lee. I know you may not get it, but who do you play? Dig.
We play Dig.
Okay, I can. No, we can't do that.
I mean, I think this is fine for now.
Yeah. Who does Sen play? Lion or
Sentinels play Lion, yeah.
The only problem
I'm
is
gonna keep Golden Glue just because I think it might be a little.
I just don't
Fiesta?
like Quad and B-Boy. Because I think one of the
Yeah,
teams
but we don't
is
have the
gonna-
money to change.
Yeah.
Like ideally, we could get rid of Quad and put in APA, but like we said, can't really do that.
Yeah.
And then all the other players, you can put in Zinni. I wouldn't recommend it. You can put in Palafox if you think Dignitas are going to win. And then that would give you some points to maybe get rid of Golden Glue, pick up Dom, pick up Rainover, or something like that.
Oh, I
But I don't think
I
it's
had an
worth it.
idea of putting in Fudge and then replacing B-Boy with Tactical.
Ooh, do we have money for that?
Yeah, because Fudge is cheap for some reason. Fudge is 14.9.
Okay, so that would give us 4.3 points.
Fudge probably playing null. He's a null merchant right now. We have enough. That's the question. Yes, we do. What do you think about that instead?
Yeah, I like that idea.
Better because I
I
think
also
Fudge is
think
going to
top lane,
carry
even though
against
it's really
Dig.
expensive.
I think Fudge will
Yeah,
carry against Dig, and then I feel like if we're going to win, Tactical will probably do well.
yeah, I agree.
I quite like this team, actually.
All right, let's do it.
Cool. Let's lock it.
All right, last thing for us. I think we didn't have too many questions just because we were bringing in a lot of fans. But I'm gonna double check. I think there were a couple. I'm gonna save Beans' question for morning tea, just because it's like a really good morning tea question. And then these are all morning tea. With the return of Dardoch to the LCS, are there any other pros? This is from Misa. With the return of Dardoch to the LCS, are there any other pros you think deserve a second chance in the LCS? I think for sure Insanity. I think Insanity deserves a spot. I think he's better than like 3 mid laners in the LCS currently at the minimum.
Who would that be?
He's better than Zinni. He's better than Palafox. He's better than Call Me.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
3 right there.
yeah. Do you think that like it'd be another case of like he comes in but he's straight on a bad team and then it's out the league again?
Okay, if you put Insanity on Shopify, I think we're just a better team. If you put Insanity on DSG, I think it'll improve. I don't know that I would take them out of 8th, like maybe 7th. And then if you put them on Dignitas, I actually don't know if it would make a difference because Palafox, game 1 Palafox is legit. So
Yeah.
maybe you're right. Maybe it wouldn't like make such a big difference. But I do think like he deserves a second chance. He's been winning, like he's won every split basically of tier 2 when he's competing. And he's clearly like LCS level.
I'd like to see Speaker get support in tier 1.
I think Speaker would be cool.
If
I'm excited to
if he
finally
was
get the interview.
committed to it, I think Pogoto would do fine in LCS.
Yeah, I would love to see Paul Belter play.
'Cause
But
I just think
there's
he's got
no
the
after that Bud Light
No.
days.
No. I think he has the mind for it. I think he'd be good
Yeah.
in current meta.
Yeah, same. I'd love to see Paul Belter play again, but probably not. But yeah, those are all the questions. Let us know if you enjoyed this new format where we brought in fans to talk about their teams. I personally thought it was really cool, but
Yeah.
obviously you guys let us know in the comments or come to the Discord. You can scan the QR code and you can go into esports and just mention it. Be like, hey, I really enjoyed it. Or, hey, don't do that again. We prefer to hear you guys talk. Whatever you enjoyed. Any shout outs from you, Martin?
Generally shout out to every fan. We got like half the league, or just over half the league, like covered in terms of fandom, and like we do have every single like team covered as far as like who we got fans. So just shout out to everyone that's come on today. Like really appreciate taking the time to yap about their favorite team.
Yeah, shout out to all you guys, and I will see you guys. We will see you guys next week, Tuesday.
Okay, peace.